me. My name is Kevin Haas. I'm the traffic standards engineer from Salem. I work closely with Gary and our region traffic office and our region office in Bend on solutions. And today, what I'm going to give you is kind of a 30,000 foot view of the argument of why we're focused on intersection safety from a statewide perspective. I'm not going to touch on Tom McCall or any of those things. You've got staff to do that. But as Eric mentioned, I gave a presentation at the Professional Engineers of Oregon Conference in Eugene. I've done other outreach on a statewide basis, and we're really trying to educate not only the public and political leaders, but just so that the average drivers have an understanding of the safety implications of the type of traffic control we choose at various intersections. But high-speed signals on 45, 50, and 55 mile per hour facilities do not have a good safety record. And that's one reason why the department is very adamant that we want to discourage signals at every chance that we have when it's in a higher speed environment, because the safety numbers just don't show that they do the job. The big thing of why we're even pushing roundabouts in the first place or promoting them is no other solution gives you an almost 100% reduction in fatal and serious injury crashes. These other things are kind of secondary advantages in reducing delay and emissions and the fuel savings from that rolling queue. There's a tremendous amount of fuel and pollution that's wasted while you're stopped there, and heavy trucks have to accelerate back up to highway speed every time they're stopped at a traffic signal. Everybody assumes the signal's always going to be green for them. I've never run through where I always hit all the lights green. I always seem to end up having to stop at one or two of them. And so that's the big thing. And when we look at data-driven decision making, and we look at 5 years of crash data, we looked at all of our intersections statewide, from Ontario to Reedsport, from Astoria down to Brookings, from Bend to Prineville to Burns. We looked at all of our intersections, whether they be on state highways or local roads. And when you look at all intersections around the state, for a 5-year period, if it's unsignalized, about 7% of those crashes are going to be fatal or serious injury crashes. And for that 5-year period, it resulted in 230 fatalities. When we look at signalized intersections, yes, it does improve a little bit, but still 120 fatalities at signalized intersections. When you look at roundabouts, in 5 years of roundabouts, granted, we do not have as many roundabouts as we do signalized or unsignalized intersections in the state, but still, we easily have 50 or 60 roundabouts, and it may even be more. Scott Beaird is here from Kittleson and Associates, and he might have a better idea of how many roundabouts we have statewide. But I know we're easily approaching up closer to 100 roundabouts in the state. We have not had a single fatality in 5-year period from 2009 to 2013 at a roundabout intersection. And then dealing with some of the misconceptions. The other ODOT staff and other people that are here can talk a little bit more directly about Tom McCall and some of the other things that we've done at roundabouts. Freight mobility is a big concern. And that was one of the reasons why we had a moratorium for a couple of years on roundabouts on the state highway system at ODOT, because we needed to work through those freight issues with Les Schwab, work through those freight issues with the Oregon Trucking Association. And we've done that. And we have a process in place to work through all those issues. To get through the misconceptions that traffic signals fix all your safety problems. There's still this misconception that if we put up a signal, it'll make all the safety problems go away. And the numbers that I just showed you show that that is not the case at all. And then lastly, cost. We do a lot of things based on what it costs to construct something, and we don't think of the life cycle costs of operating a system. Our signals today are very smart in the 21st century, but those smarts in the signal cabinets and that technology comes at a cost. Over 20 years, it costs a lot of money to run high-speed internet connections and power and communications and the servers that run all of our traffic signals. That hardware comes at a cost. And when we install a new signal, we just think about the capital cost to install it. We think that it's the maintenance division's problem to figure out how to pay for that. Well, the annual maintenance cost can run upwards of $30,000 or $40,000 a year at some complex intersections where hardware and detection is constantly having to be replaced. And when you figure those costs into the overall life cycle cost of roundabouts versus signals, the two compare out very favorably. Roundabouts almost always come out on a better cost basis when you consider all the life cycle costs and the minimized maintenance costs of roundabouts over traffic signals.
Roundabouts, if you've experienced this at roundabouts elsewhere, you're often, even though you're in queue, it's a rolling queue. Things are moving, so you're not stopped, waiting, and then going. You're sort of moving, and that's exactly what Kevin talked about. You don't have that time to check your phone, right? The queues that we're seeing or estimating for the roundabout are about half as long as they would be for the signal. So how about from a safety standpoint, what do we think is going to happen there? So we projected crashes over 5 years, accounting for an increase in traffic volumes, and we're estimating that if it stays a stop controlled, you'd have about, and these are averages over 5 years, that's why we see, obviously we can't have half a crash, but this is the way the model works out. So 6.5 crashes total over 5 years, with about 3.5 of those being either fatal or injury crashes. With a signal, we are able to reduce the total number of crashes down to about 3.5, but unfortunately, because of the performance that Kevin described, the majority of those would continue to be fatal or injury. So most of those would result in fatal or injury crashes. So about 44% reduction overall, but only about a 3% reduction in the fatal and injury crashes. If we look at a roundabout, the data shows us, again, this is all national data that's been collected. The data shows us that we'd be down to about 2 crashes total over the 5 years, with on average about half of a crash being either fatal or injury over that time period. So it's about a 70% reduction in total crashes and about an 80 to 90% reduction in fatal and injury crashes.
So the roundabout, here's the Tom McCall intersection right here. And this is it right here. Here's Tom McCall and here's OR126. Essentially, we're going to be constructing it off-center in the northwest quadrant of Tom McCall and OR126. That does a number of things for us. A big part of this is, again, we get to build that on county land. We don't have to go through spending a lot of money on right-of-way. County, again, is a big stakeholder in this process and is contributing that land. So that saves us a lot of money. Another aspect is by building it off-center, the contractor is building it off-center. He's able to not build it under traffic. It's safer for the contractor and the employees. It's faster because, again, they're not working under construction, and therefore we see some cost savings. Another option allows us to do is, as we're building this off-center, traffic continues to go through and oversized loads. There's a significant amount of oversized loads that go through, come out of George Milliken, and then they go east and west out of 126. And they'll be able to continue to do that until this is constructed. Now, one of the things you'll see is there's from frontage roads, we call them frontage roads. We're going to be constructing and kind of connect what used to be Tom McCall, this will be Pillar, to George Milliken. And then there'll be Airport Way, we'll extend Airport Way east, and then come up and join Tom McCall up there, just north of the proposed roundabout. This allows us again to kind of help separate the traffic and allow traffic to come up and get through and not move and not get congested further away. One of the other things we're going to be looking at and working with the airport is having right turn movements. There's a lot of folks that live here work here and then live somewhere else. There's a lot of traffic that comes out of there, so we're going to allow right turning movements for traffic to come out. But again, this is kind of our proposal at this point.
But if they're going left, they have to go out on that side road that you're going.
That is correct. If they want to go, if they want to go east on 126, they're going to take Airport Way up to here, and then down, and then that way. Yes, that's correct. Sorry. And we will be coming back to both City Council and the County Commissioners in the form of some sort of resolution approving the design as we move forward.